Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, August 24th, 2020, and today we are going to be looking at the predicted map for the Electoral College, except this time I'm going to be using my own characterization. So to start off this video, I'm going to tell you what exactly I mean by that. If a candidate has a 50 to 60 cent share, I will consider it to be tilt for whichever party they stand with. 60 to 75 cents will be considered lean, 75 to 90 cents would be considered likely, and 90 to 100 would be considered safe. This time I'll actually put it in the description box, so let me write that, not the description, sorry, put that in the pinned comment section down below. So if you don't want to see that, whatever, or if you skipped over this part, now you're just watching the video and you didn't hear anything that I just said. But let's take a look at this map. So as some people have noticed, the betting odds have actually narrowed up nationwide, not super significantly, but at a point where Donald Trump seems to be closing in on Joe Biden, and this could likely be due to the fact that the RNC is building back up and people are already expecting Donald Trump to bounce up following the RNC, so people are immediately buying shares of a Donald Trump victory. But if the RNC doesn't go to plan or there are any major issues, then obviously people are going to sell their stock. But I don't think that the spike in the betting markets was due to the DNC. The DNC went eloquently, to say the least, I would say. Joe Biden's speech knocked it out of the park. I mean, it was a very, very inspirational speech. I would say from an unbiased point of view, even Fox News praised Joe Biden. So I understand that some people may say the bar was set low, but that was the Republican Party that set the bar so low, nobody else. So let's go ahead and take a look at this map. We're going to be going ahead and characterizing the safe states first, because at the end of the day, they don't really matter too much. And they won't be focused on by any means for a number of candidates here, even on local races. But Montana, we'll start off with whatever list I wrote them down in: Montana, Indiana. Now, it is surprising to see Montana and South Carolina considered safe. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But there are a number of states on here that aren't exactly surprising that they're considered safe either. I mean, I could see why they would consider these states to be safe, even though they could be slightly more competitive than where they were. Just because they are more competitive does not mean that Joe Biden even remotely has a chance at these states. So Louisiana, North Dakota, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Oklahoma, pretty much all of these states. There's nothing really new to add on. South Carolina as well. So it puts Donald Trump at 122 electoral votes. And no, I did not forget Alaska. Alaska is not considered safe by the markets. It's actually the only likely Republican state, but we'll go to that in just a moment. But South Carolina, Mississippi, Missouri, Indiana, Montana, and Utah are all states that I expect to be less than 15%. Utah, just because of Mitt Romney's firm opposition to Donald Trump. Yes, one person can make that much of a difference compared to the 2012 margin versus 2016. And then also looking at the data that's been taken out of Utah, a lot of those Evan McMullin voters have actually switched over to Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is not Hillary Clinton. He does not stand for, or at least he doesn't have that same type of feel that Hillary Clinton had in 2016. And also, Donald Trump did okay in Utah in 2016 just because he was not liked too much in that state. But moving past there, I mean, these states are probably considered safe just because of the fact that Joe Biden doesn't remotely have a chance. It's just the fact that he may narrow up the margin, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to win there. Now, for the safe Democratic states, it's pretty much all of the same: New York, Washington, Oregon, California, Connecticut. We'll talk about some of these other states in a moment. I'm going to skip over them really briefly. Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, the District of Columbia, Illinois, and then we also have to include New Mexico. That's not too surprising, but I mean, still important to note. Virginia as well is another safe state for the Democrats. And that's it for the safe states for, and Colorado. So as you can see on this map, people are very confident in Joe Biden's ability to carry the states that Hillary Clinton carried 4 years ago. And, Virginia and Colorado and New Mexico to not even be remotely contested by the GOP really goes to show that the GOP is likely to give up these states in future election cycles as well. It's not just Donald Trump. The Republican Party doesn't seem like they're going to have too strong of a competitive nature in any three of these states in the near future. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the likely states for Republicans and Democrats. Likely states for the Republicans: Alaska, that's it. The likely states for the Democrats include New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Nevada. And if you take a look at the numbers, we are actually at, I forgot to characterize Maine and Maine's first district. Maine at large is considered likely. We are now actually at Hillary Clinton's numbers from 2016. So why is this significant? Well, if you take a look at the safe versus and likely and compile them all together, Joe Biden already has what Hillary Clinton got 4 years ago. Donald Trump is 181 off of that, if you just include likely and safe characterizations, which means Donald Trump's electoral presence relies mainly on swing states. Joe Biden's does not. Joe Biden has locked down the Clinton states, and then based off the lean Democratic states and tilt Democratic states, he completely blows out Donald Trump in this election. And if we're looking at the states that are considered lean and tilt for the GOP, honestly, it's a silver lining. These states should not even have been considered lean, mainly likely. And you'll see what I mean when I characterize the states. For the likely Republican states, this includes the states of Texas. That's surprising. I mean, not now, but it would have been a year ago. Georgia, Ohio, Iowa. Yes, these are Iowa and Ohio, traditionally swing states, but Texas and Georgia just joined the fray back in 2016, and they're continuing to get bluer and bluer and bluer. Iowa and Ohio and Texas were nearly 10-point margins for Donald Trump, now lean. Georgia, which was a 6-point margin, is now lean. So these states, which were all voting very Republican in 2016, Iowa and Ohio with the largest swings to the right, Texas and Georgia with large swings to the left, it seems like they're all now moving in the same direction, which is leftward. They're all still Trump states expected by the predicted markets, but not by as much as they were just 4 years ago. And then in Maine's 2nd congressional district, this is another lean Republican district. People are not too solid in their characterization for this race, even though they probably should be. Donald Trump is likely to carry this race, this district, regardless of who wins the election. And for the Democratic Party, they have lean Democratic seats as well, states as well, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and I don't know why I characterized Minnesota as likely. I did not mean to do that, but so I guess you could say it was 222, but still way higher than 125 to say the least. But Minnesota would be considered a lean Democratic state because originally it was likely, and then I think Joe Biden's share went down to 74 cents, so it wasn't enough to be put over the top, but it practically is a likely state. But still, I mean, having these states as lean characterizations is nothing bad. I mean, Joe Biden's dominating all of the data that we see in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We have very little polling done in Minnesota, so I'd like to see that ramped up. Obviously, that's not up to me. That's up to whoever's funding the polls. I mean, maybe Election Twitter can send one out there, but we haven't seen a really good poll come out of Minnesota in quite some time now. The only one that's not even good, I would just say, the only poll that's come out of there has shown a closer race, but I'd like to see something pretty substantial come out of Minnesota. But for Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, these states are polled way more than the rest of the states, and they all show that Joe Biden has a pretty strong lead here. And then in the tilt Democratic states, we have Florida and Arizona, which means that we officially have our first flip of the betting odds season, and that is the state of North Carolina, which was a Democratic state, which is now considered a tilt Republican state. So that's pretty significant. I would say that Florida, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota are narrowing up, but they're still likely to go to Joe Biden, and I think this is just in preparation for the RNC, with people flooding the markets and expecting Donald Trump to come out on top by the end of the RNC, as he did in 2016. Keep in mind, following the Republican convention, Donald Trump led Hillary Clinton for the first time in election polls. I mean, that was pretty significant. He was able to take the headlines and win over a number of voters. Can you imagine what the electoral map would have looked like if he actually had won the Electoral College? But now he's still underwater by 9%. Joe Biden isn't exactly experiencing a convention bump, just more of a convention blip. It's pushing him up narrowly to around 9% nationwide, but that's roughly where he's been throughout the entire campaign season. But for the electoral map, we're starting to see states narrow up. North Carolina flipped, Florida, Arizona narrowed up, and Ohio and Iowa and Georgia and Texas, they actually haven't changed too much. You would expect them to get a little bit more Republican, which they have very narrowly. I mean, it's more significant of a shift in the other blue states versus these states, which have gone from 61 cents to 62 cents, 50 or 67 cents to 68 cents, whatever it might be. But we're starting to see a little bit of a decrease of expectation for Joe Biden in Arizona, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. But it is important to note that Biden still has locked down so many electoral votes in comparison to Donald Trump. Virginia, Colorado, New Mexico, all safe. That means any money spent here by Donald Trump is likely a waste. Maybe Colorado could be narrow, maybe Virginia could be narrow, but I don't see a realistic possibility where Donald Trump carries these states, especially with 71, 72 days until the general election. It's insane. So Donald Trump has 219 electoral votes. He retains the swing states of Texas, Iowa, Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, and Maine's 2nd District. For Joe Biden, he retains the swing states of Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, and Virginia, and New Hampshire and Maine, and wins over Arizona, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District. So that's pretty much it for this video. This is based off the predicted markets. You can go ahead and check those out by yourself at predictit.org. Go ahead and check out the 2020 presidential election tab. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election predictions. Go ahead and check out April 2020 if you want to, or whenever you do. There's a number of election predictions there. They're always fun to watch. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.